Now move your consciousness into your heart center. And once you're there, experience a great galaxy at the heart level. And the galaxy is spinning counterclockwise with you in the center. Counterclockwise with you in the center. The galaxy vortex is filled with love and is pulling love to you. It is filling your heart with this great, great love. And you may even take a moment and hold the emotion and think about your greatest feeling of love. Just allow it to come to you. Along with this galaxy filling you. And just fill that heart. Allow it to be filled. Let the galaxy pour the love into your heart. Take as much as you choose, as much as you wish. And when your heart feels completely filled, allow this love to expand to your central column, running from source to the center of the earth. And then expand it to your entire physical body. And then expand your entire energy field, filling your multidimensional body. Feel this sensation. Take your space with it, feel it. Let it just flood you with the most joyful feeling of love. And now let's take a moment and go into the liquids of your body. And let's infuse the liquids of your body with harmony, balance, and trust. And you may also say that I now have 100% desire that all evolution is in peaceful harmony, balance, trust, and joy. So fill the liquids. And in the same manner, infuse your cells and the cellular membrane with harmony, balance, and trust. Trust in the process. No, it's perfect. No, you are perfect. Now feel this sensation. Feel it. I fully and freely accept unconditional joy and gratitude into full oneness, loving that now is all there is and everything there is. All is now. Now is where you feel the joy. Joy is the connective piece. Passion, joy. Breathe deeply. Feel this. that you are love. And so it is.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. 20 years ago, I said those words to my partner. You know what he said to me? You're going to have to change your name. It's not fluffy enough. It's not angelic enough. And who ever heard of a magnetic angel? Is what he said. It's 20 years ago. And now today, as you sit in this place, do you understand how the magnetics of the planet affect your life? Finally. And does it not make sense that on the other side of the veil we know it as well? Does it not make sense that it is related? That the physical things, the fractal things, the consciousness things are all related to why you're here, to the spiritual component of the choice point. And now you've started to hear it scientifically. And for some, it's what you've been waiting for. For Magnetic Master, didn't make any sense. Channeling doesn't make any sense to you. The man sitting in the chair, you say, who was pretending to have messages from beyond the veil, say, that doesn't make any sense. Well, let's review. Let's make this a review. You can go find it in 1989. In the first messages, I told you this, there'd come a time on your planet, sooner than later, where the places where you grow crops, you could not grow crops. And the places that would never grow them, that's where you would grow them. I told you that a profundity was coming of shift of weather. I told you that. And now you sit in it. I spoke of consciousness shift, and you're there. And for those of you who wonder when it's going to happen, you've missed it. It is all around you. It is what has happened since the 80s. It is what has happened this year. It's all around you. It is the choice point. All of these things. We told you that global warming was cyclical. Do you believe it now? Well, that was channeled, you see, but now you have science. We told you clearly in these past years that it will be short-lived, leading to a cooling cycle. It's published in so many places. And now there's the science. Do you believe it now? There are those here whose intellect is starting to meld with the emotional. And you're starting to get the message. Maybe it's okay not to have a fluffy angel. Maybe it's okay to have truth come from one who loves you, from home. You ever wondered why these messages were given this way and why so long ago? Now, another coincidence perhaps. You start tracking back. When did all this begin? When did the scientist Greg begin his journey? When did my partner begin his journey? When did some of the epiphanies happen in your lives? Some of the healers sitting in this audience. When did the teacher Peggy have her first phase revelations? And I'll tell you, you can track it all back to about 20 years ago. Right when it began. Right when the alignment started. Is that enough of a coincidence for you? When did Dr. Todd become quantum? First quantum invention on Earth. All within these years that we speak. Too much coincidence? Perhaps. And if it is for you, Mr., Miss Intellectual, then you're going to miss it. Because now it's going to take a meld. This is a summary. For the last 6 months, I've given you information about you. I've given you information that's going to make a difference in you. For the choice point. There are those who say there is no reason for human beings to do anything different at this juncture than they did before. There are human beings who say you are designed to fail. Each cycle, each civilization. That human nature will never shift, will never change, and that the cycles will repeat and repeat and repeat. And I'm saying to you this one is different. You've reached a point now where if you will start to change and evolve quantumly, just slightly, this choice point will make the difference. Less than 0.5% of this planet have to make these choices. Magnetics. What did you learn today about magnetics? How do you align that with the Kryon teaching? I gave you the process scientifically through induction of how the solar system takes the gravitational pull and literally sends it out as messages that are quantum from the sun through the solar wind. Meeting and interfacing with your magnetic grid through the inductance, which is one magnetic field overlapping another, goes right into your field. The same messages that the solar system gets, you do. Corresponding, this is the couch that you sit in. Your DNA is magnetic, and that is scientific, and that has been proven. And now you have the little affecting the big, and the big affecting the little. Now, you heard that today, didn't you? When enough people think differently, when enough people have a reaction, when there's an emotion put forward in mass, the instruments measure it for the earth. And now is it starting to correlate that you and what you think and what you do are going to make the difference. And if you didn't believe it from the weird guy, maybe you'll believe it from the scientist. And maybe, just maybe, they're both the truth. what about that one? Becoming quantum is the summary of the day. It is tough. We're asking you in this choice point to think differently. Dear human being, you have an evolvement going on. An evolvement through the magnetics, which speaks to the DNA, which gives opportunity for thought, for consciousness shift dimensionally. It's the hardest thing we'll ever teach. 3 years ago, I told my partner he would be teaching the unteachable. And he sits in a chair today doing it. And there are those who will get it, and there are those who won't. If you have studied the quantum state, you will be aware of certain attributes, and we're only going to talk about one today, just one. And in the speaking of just the one, I am going to linearize and delinearize some of the attributes of your life. I'm going to show you what becoming quantum can do with you. Human beings are emotional, and that's good, because emotions are quantum. They're uncontrollable, you know, in both directions. Uncontrollable hate, uncontrollable love. They don't conform to a pattern, do they? It takes the intellect to construct a box around the emotions, and you call that balance. And so already you're beginning to see that the human mind is a quantum attribute. Consciousness, by its very nature, is quantum. Human brain was designed to think quantumly. It is only those restrictions, those intellectual things that occur through biological synapse that keep it linear. Kryon, we don't understand what you're talking about. Then take a look at the autistic human being. For just a moment, here is a human being who has an attribute. There is something missing. And if you've ever been around certain kinds of those autistic consciousnesses, you know what it is. It is the construct of linearity. For an autistic mind is one who does not understand linearity. And what you see is a human being trying to grasp order, trying to build a construct around their consciousness so they can make sense of the world they're in. Because they are far more quantum than you are. Did you ever think of that? Therefore, the setup is there. Becoming quantum is already in your grasp. All you have to do is to figure out how to open and shut the various synapses to create the kind of a human being that is the beginning of the evolved ones. Is the choice point going to be reached and business as usual is going to be the result? Do you suddenly get enlightened, choose, and then retreat back to an unenlightened state? And the answer is no, and you know it's no. No. You change and you stay changed, and that is the new beginning, is it not? That is the wild card that occurs in this cycle that never occurred before. That is why Kryon came in 1989. It's why I'm here. It is before you. It is different. You sit in the middle of it. Here's another quantum aspect. I bring you these so that you will understand how confusing quantumness can be. And yet it's in your brain. When you retreat into that thing you call sleep, perhaps even what you call the alpha state, the beginning of sleep, that middle portion of consciousness that is without construct. What happens? Have you ever had a dream where nothing made sense? Out of time, out of place, human beings were in your dream that couldn't even know each other. Different places, different time. And it all made sense at the moment, didn't it? And I'll tell you why. Because when you go to that state, it is quantum. It is a quantum thing. The brain in a state which is without the intellect's control becomes quantum. Dreaming is one of those things. Did you ever think of that? That's why. And what is the attribute of that dream, that kind of dream, that disturbs you the most when you wake up? And what it is that it is outside of linearity. That is to say, there is no time construct placed upon it. Everything happens at the same time, and it's just fine. When you're in the dream, you're not tearing out your hair in confusion, are you? You're just enjoying it. The quantumness is a natural state. You might even say that the intellectual construct that goes around your consciousness is starting to change. Perhaps allowing for more understanding of what I am teaching now. Kryon, I still don't understand. I know. And so I'm going to begin to start to simplify this into terms that you will understand. You're going to see the box you're in called time. How linear it is that you can only go in one direction. You can't turn left, you can't turn right. The clock only goes in one direction, forward. There's no such thing as a clock that goes up and down and left and right, is there? It just goes forward. Oh, how linear. And that's the way you think. And you take that bias and then you apply it to everything. All thought, all reasoning, all logic, all spirituality. You say we are linear, therefore God must be, and God is not. And neither really are you. And some of you will be stepping out of this soon and be understanding more about what is going on in your life. Dear ones, let us start the teaching. These are summaries. These are things that you may have heard before that come together in a group today to help you understand. I sit in front of an astute group of individuals, many of whom call themselves light workers. You can define that any way you want. Awareness. Awareness of things beyond linearity. A belief, truly, that you are a piece of God. More than not in the room in front of me. And in that awareness, there is communication to the other side of the veil. And most of you do. So I will pinpoint one of the fallacies and the frustrations of what happens when you do that in linearity, dear human being. How many of you have had messages that are life-changing? You go into a meditative state, perhaps it's in that dream state that I just suggested, and there it is, an idea. Perhaps even an instruction. Maybe you had a visualization. Here's what you're to do. Here's the book you're going to write. Here is what your future is going to be like. Here is the healing modality. Here are the instructions that you're going to meet someone. You're going to do something. You're going to begin. And you're excited about it, are you not? And you come back from the visualization and you tell your friends, it's so real. This is what I've got. This is what I'm going to do. Isn't it exciting? And then what do? you proceed to implement it. Oh, how linear. Is that the message you got? In a quantum state, did God tell you, come on back and do it? And the answer is no. You think that because your clock goes in one direction. Tick, 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 tick. Therefore, you come back onto the linear treadmill of time, do you not? And you begin to implement what you were told. That's a big mistake, but you don't know it. So let's just show what happens. Most of the time, it fails. I was supposed to write this book, and I tried, and there it was, and nothing happened. There wasn't a publisher who wanted it. Nobody really liked it. I must have been wrong, you say. I had these great ideas. I came back. I implemented them. Nothing happened. You say, you see, I know who is here, and I'm speaking to some of you right now, and you know I am. Even if you've not told anybody. Failure is like that. The human brain doesn't want to come right out and say, I don't know why I didn't have good communication. The Spirit, I got the message, I came back, I tried it, and nothing happened. Oh, how linear of you. And what did you do with it? This idea, this beauty, this thought, the actions, the plan, the things you were shown were yours. What did you do with that once you tried it and you failed? You put it on the shelf and you shut the cupboard door. And maybe your friend said, you know, a few years ago, I remember you tried something. Why don't you try that again? And what do you say to them at that point? No, I tried it and it failed. Oh, how linear. Do you understand where I'm going with this? God didn't tell you to do it now. In your linearness, you decided when, where, and then against all rational thinking that is quantum, once you tried it, it's over. You're not even going to pull it out and do it again, are you? Oh, how linear. It's a bias. Do you see how biased you are? Now, here's the quantum thinker. You get the message, you come back, you celebrate the message. It's a ticket that you're holding in your hand that says, there's a train coming. And you look closely at the ticket, and there's no time. Doesn't say when, does it? But you've got the ticket. That ought to be enough to a quantum mind. You celebrate it, and then you sit back and you create the attitude of synchronicity. That is to say, you hook into the quantumness of who you are, and you look at the synchronicity so that you can recognize it when the train comes. Do you understand this? Blessed is the human being right now sitting here who is a being aware of what I'm saying. There are things lurking in the cupboard that you've locked that are ready now. Now's the time. Now. This is the decision point. And this is when you were always supposed to do it. It didn't work before because it wasn't supposed to work before. Synchronicity wasn't there, energy wasn't there, quantumness was not there. And now it is. What does that mean to you? Become quantum with me in a moment. What do you think it means? What kind of decision? How would you like to revisit that? That's the invitation. It's about time, isn't it? You think in a linear fashion, and therefore you are biased in a linear fashion, and it interrupts the flow of your spiritual context and communication to God. And you're not even aware of it. And you know what it creates? Frustration. Sometimes anger. Sometimes you'll even turn your back on Spirit and say, this didn't work. Gotta move on. Or this didn't work. I'm not loved as much as I thought. I was. That is the linear bias. It's not true. It's not true. Okay, I'll give you another one. This may hit a little closer to home. I've got a room full of light workers in front of me. And I'll tell you that a lot of them right now who have been light workers a long time. And you're still waiting to find out what you're supposed to do, aren't you? You know I'm right. You're waiting to find out. You got this spark of awareness. You know about the divine. You know about what's in your DNA. You're starting to discover it all, and you feel there's something more. You got to wait for it. You don't know what it is. Someday it'll be there, you say. Someday I'll know what I'm here for, you say. It's a rusty linear track you're on. Because it always yells the same thing to you in linearity. You're not there yet, it says to you. Time is not on your side, it says to you. Sometimes it says it passed you and you didn't see it. That leads sometimes to worry. Now I'm going to give you the truth. And I want you to open your heart to the truth, because I'm sitting in front of those who need to hear this accurately, emotionally, truthfully. I don't want you to raise your hands, but invisibly, metaphysically, I want you to turn on a light right now above your head, if this is you. Right now. And I'm looking at those lights right now. And I'm going to give you your syllabus. I'm going to give you what you're here for. I'm going to tell you why you feel the way you do. And I'm going to give you the instruction set that you can leave here with, knowing who you are and why you came. You might not like it. And then you may love it. I hope this light that you're turning on above your head coordinates with the light that is shining from my partner right now, because this is the truth. Listen, light worker, all your life you've been expecting what is next. Where are you going? What are you supposed to do? And I will tell you this: blessed is the human being who is aware. For the awareness of consciousness itself is what you're doing. That is the task at hand. Stay aware. Keep the light going. Walk from place to place, in families, in work. Keep the awareness. That is the decision point, because the awareness changes the grid. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you're going to do. It's what you're thinking about. In a quantum way, there is no clock. Can you sustain that to the day you die? And if you can, every single one of you holding that light right now will know that's why you're here. Don't look ahead to be and do, because you're being it and you're doing it. In a quantum state, every single one of you, this is it. You're here to be aware. Are you? Then you fulfilled the task perfectly. Perfectly. Walk from this place satisfied in what you're doing for the planet. Stay aware. Don't give up. If everything is put on a timeline, you're going to fail. Because the things that the clock will bring you are not the things that the heart will bring you. Because the heart is quantum. The heart is quantum. For 2 years, we have opened the door to quantum cellular shift. And we started giving you information that is simply unbelievable. In your DNA, there is the Akashic record. All the lifetimes that you have lived on this planet are there. The higher self has been the same one in every lifetime. You've got a friend who participated in every one of them. And up to this point, all of this has been stacked like the ice core. You got to mark it, you got to look at it, you got to go there and see who you were, perhaps, what the energies were. And all of you assumed it was untouchable and in the past. Not a quantum mind. The quantum mind looks at it all happening now. Therefore, what we have told you over and over, what is happening now is available to you now. How would you like to go in there and pick up the health that you came here for? I'm going to talk to 3 people who are here in the room. Stop trying to heal yourself. Because yourself, this lifetime, isn't going to be healed. But the one last time, if you bring it forward, was pure. None of the things in the DNA that you have now. Why don't you go get that one and put it on top for you in the linear way? What about that? That's the quantum individual. Now, what did you do? Did you heal yourself or did you mine the Akash? Do you see what I'm saying? What is it you wish you could do? What are your blocks? What are the things that you think are you that can't be changed? In the Akash, there is also you, many of them. Why don't you go there and replace the you with the former you? That is mining the Akash. That's a quantum human being. That goes way beyond what you were told past life. Energies were for. You were told that they were for karmic exchange. Did you hear what I said? Because that's funny. The idea that past life experience builds up in your DNA so that you will be disturbed by it, that it will become the sand in your oyster and you have to accomplish something to get around it, is very old information. What if it was just the opposite? What if it was a gold mine? You lived all those lives. Think about that. What's that about? It's life experience. It's wisdom. Shaman. Now go mine it. That's what the quantum human being does. It creates mastery. It changes the magnetic grid. Think about that. Now here's something that someone on this stage is really going to enjoy. For I'm now going to give you the secret of the inner child. It's a quantum effect. Why is the inner child so important? You've heard this for years. The inner child work. Some of you run from it. I don't want to be a kid, you say. I grew up. I want to be any of those things. I'll pass on that one. Let me tell you what is so quantum about it. Now listen to me and open your heart for a moment. It's about time, isn't it? For none of you in here are children. But you see, all of you used to be. So why don't you do something with me for a moment? Why don't you suspend the clock and pretend that everything you ever had on this planet in this lifetime is in front of you now? Like bins that you can pick from. They're there. They're not in the past. They're in a quantum state, ready for you to choose. Now I want you to go and look at some of those bins. When you were 8, when you were 7, when you were 6, when you were 5. No worries. How many of you, when you were 8 years old, were worrying about paying the mortgage? Or what the budget was for food, or whether you could have one car and even make it work or not? None of you. Your biggest worries were how long you could play. Most of you. Now, I want you to suspend these thoughts right now for a moment. I want you to pretend that you can pick up that persona for a moment. That child, it's you. It's got your name on it, and you lived it. And now pick it up and put it on yourself. No worries. No drama. No tomorrow, really. The child doesn't think about tomorrow unless tomorrow is Christmas. And then what is the feeling of that? Joy, is it not? Joy. Joy. This is the quantum human being who can go back and apply these attributes to their lives. And you know, you can tell them because they walk around and they shine. They're not in denial. They're quantum. There were a number of masters who walked this planet who are well known to you in many religions, whether it's the Christ, whether it's the Buddha, in many religions. And I want to tell you what they all had in common. They were quantum. And when you looked at their faces, did you see how they shine? Can you go there with me? Can you be with your favorite master just for a moment? Can you stand next to him or her for a moment? And what's the energy there? Peace, is it not? Are they worried about their mortgage? Are they worried about paying the bill? What kind of drama do they have in their lives? For whatever reason, they don't, and you're attracted to that, aren't you? And you just want to stand next to them. You might even say to yourself, oh, if I could just be like that, I would love that. Well, you can. And it's called the inner child, and that is what they have. It isn't innocence, it's not ignorance. It is total, complete quantum wisdom. The ability to take those things which in linearity you would worry about and suspend them to a place where they don't affect you. What happens to a consciousness that's not affected by fear? I'll tell you, it soars. It soars. Did you expect that? Inner child work is quantum work. All of these things we have been teaching in these last months, asking the human being to become quantum. But nothing compares to the last one. Nothing. It's the third time I'm going to bring it to you. Listen carefully. There are those, even in spiritual work, who have declared that emotionalism is wrong. That if you get emotional, you're not rational, they say. If you weep, you shouldn't be here. They say it is the intellectual mind that is going to figure out everything. That's where your logic is. That's your reason. And therefore, you want to get to a place where you would throw away all emotions and just figure it out. There's no human in the room who's going to figure out a quantum state, because that's not the state that you were born in. It's not the state you live in. It's a balance. Now I'm going to tell you where the real power is. I'm going to give you the most quantum energy on the planet. And I hope you understand it. It's the third time I've done this, and I want you to listen really carefully. There is a power beyond all powers. And it comes right out of the emotional state. Are you surprised? It has to. It has to. And so I'm going to paint the picture yet again, and I've done it before. Here it is again. Oh, there are mothers in this room. Many. Mom, go back with me to a time I shared with you, will you? When your firstborn was there, hours old. Hours old, minutes old. In fact, go back with me when the firstborn infant took its first breath and life began. Part of your DNA, part of your lineage, part of your Akash, a seed event, if you will. And now I'm going to ask you this. Did you hear the angels singing? They stood around the bed, you know. What did you feel the first time that you looked the infant in the eye? What did you feel? When you locked eyes with that child and life began. Did you hear the angels singing? Did your heart melt? Did it just pour out? Did you notice that the technicians in the room were weeping too? What causes that? And do you think that that particular power came out of your mind and your heart? Well, it didn't. Way beyond anything a human being alone could even possibly generate. The love of God poured into that room because there was joy. For a moment in time, you opened an interdimensional portal where life began and everyone wept. And the child looked at you and you looked at it. Things would never be the same. Do you remember, Mom? Do you remember the day? You remember the moment? That's way beyond what your heart was able to do by itself. You had help. Oh, they were all there, you know. I'm talking about the glue that holds consciousness together, that's emotional. I'm talking about the love of God. This has been the message from the first day. It took my partner 4 years to open his heart to the point where he would weep in front of anyone with this power that is beyond anything that he could generate by himself. This room is filled with an entourage whose power will generate far more than any human heart alone. And yet when you open your heart, that's when it happens. It's quantum. And you involve those around you who are quantum. Humans fall in love. They get a little nuts. And some of you have done that, haven't you? Some of you remember what that was like. The first love, do you remember that? Where all you did was sit and look at the other human being and sigh. You know? Oh. Staring at each other's eyes. A little bit of temporary insanity going on. You remember it, don't you? Perhaps some of you still have it. Tell me about that. Do you generate that by yourself with the other person, do you think? Or do you think there was something else going on? Do you? You think you were part of something that you were alone with? Lovers will tell you that there are angels in the room. When they come together, when the sparks are there, there's far more than they can create by themselves. Some of them even hear the singing. And they'd be right. Because it's part of the human experience where two come together and generate something that is far greater than the sum of the parts. And that's because God is there. The angels are smiling. That's the way it works. It's quantum. There's power here. Why are you telling us this, Kryon? And I'm going to tell you the reason, because there are those of you who are ready to fall in love with the firstborn of a seed consciousness, which is the choice point. Creating an energy on this planet like the birth of a child, greater than the sum of the parts, because you are quantum enough to do it. Is this confusing to you, or is it natural. That's part of the learning curve. That's part of the learning curve. Are you aware you don't have to join anything? You don't. Except others around you who love the earth. Are you aware that all of you can participate to whatever degree you wish? Opening the heart creates energy above and beyond what you can do. An invitation for a quantumness. Call it whatever you want. You want to call it God, you want to call it spirit, you want to call it your own divinity. Doesn't matter. But you'll feel it. Many of you already have, and you just didn't even know what it was. Love is that way. It's pure. Has no agenda. Does not puff itself up. Unconditional. That's God in you. That's the message. There is so much here to becoming quantum. I've given you just a few points, but it has to do with the clock. Interesting, is it not, that all of the teaching of this day was about the repeating cycles of linearity. When you take the linearity out of the fractal, you're in charge of it. And you see? Do you see? And that's when you say to the cycle, not this time. Not this time. And in the quantumness, you create another seed event that becomes its own linear fractal later. And in this place, that event is going to be the potential I said it would be in 1989. For what I told you, the potential was that we see is peace on earth. Can you believe it? With everything going on right now, can you believe it? It's up to you. Never has there been a time in human history where so much rested on so few. And the teachers will tell you this. And yes, it's going to be seen in a larger venue than this room. Taught in many ways, but understood clearly. And so this is the work before you. To raise from the chairs and leave differently than you came, with a little more insight as to how Spirit works with you. Perhaps a little more comfortable feeling about who you are and where you're going. Perhaps there's been a release tonight for some of you who felt you'd failed, or you hadn't accomplished the things you came for. And I'm telling you, you have. You have. Do you love God? Do you love God? Then you've accomplished it. Do you love yourself? Then you've accomplished it. Are you peaceful? Can you eliminate the drama over the things that you can't control? If you're one of those, then you've accomplished it. And that's why you came. That's the decision point. That's the new seed event. Believe me, it's being measured. Even today. And so it is that we say to you in this time, that we know each of you by name, not your earth name. The one we sing in light, the one we've always known you by. And that is the subject of tomorrow. So I warn my partner right now, a very different kind of channel. Not a teaching channel, an emotional channel is in store for tomorrow night. He can hardly wait. What are you going to do with this? Is it information that's cute? Or is it the truth? You decide. And so it is.